Hello and welcome to What's Not Gas. I've noticed some news on a FordEBike, and it isn't the first car brand that goes into the e-bike section, but I haven't found any real news on it, any media, and so let's dive into it. Alright, hold on 1 second. I have no sponsors, nobody to thank in this video, except for you guys for watching. I am doing a giveaway of this reflective sticker. I have a few, so I'll give away a few. All you have to do is like, subscribe, and put a comment, preferably something nice, of course, in the description. And so first off is they have a new website, fordbikes.com, with a dash in between. And here we can see their two bikes. Now, needless to say, it's not up to date yet. This website seems to be what I would call a placeholder, a first version, something that needs to be updated in the recent future if they want to take this seriously. On their website we can instantly see their two models, but I don't know if you agree, the quality of the images is quite poor. If we go lower, then you can see the quality of the image becomes a bit better, but you and I can both tell a rear light from this angle, it wouldn't be visible. What's obvious from this website, from these images, is that these are rendered images, computer generated images, and this means one or two things, is that this is a prototype and was a suggested design, but the actual bike isn't produced or isn't finished, or it is produced, it is finished, but they haven't had the time to make actual images. But so let's take a closer look at the e-bikes. This is the Mustang e-bike, and this is the Bronco e-bike. The Bronco would be a bit more adventurous terrain, while the Mustang is just an e-bike, and both are available in Class 2 and Class 3. Something very important is Ford is not making these bikes. These bikes is a collaboration with a brand called NPlus, and NPlus actually convinces car brands to create their own e-bikes. If you look at the design, there's two things that are instantly obvious. It's a very harsh and sharp design, and it's also full suspension, so a fully for some. That frame is made from aluminum and should be quite sturdy. It also weighs 65 pounds if I'm not mistaken, so about 30 kilos, and that's still quite heavy for an e-bike. Then again, if you have a 750 watt motor pushing it forward, yeah, you have enough power. What I also noticed was that Ford is planning to put in a cockpit, and this cockpit does kind of look more like a motorcycle design. It has the speedometer instead of just, the numbers of the miles an hour or the kilometers. So that's quite nice. It also kind of shows how much power the electric engine is supporting and what stand you're in. So again, this is a render, but it does seem like something that will be available on the final bike. On this angle of the steering wheel, you can also see the Ford or Mustang icons, as well as the gas lever on this side and the gears available on this side. Now, what I've noticed from the specs is that we're talking about a 9-speed. At these speeds, and certainly at 28 miles an hour, you kind of do want more speed or gearing options. But then again, in the rear wheel engine, you have a direct drive, and so the gearing is less important. The bike really just pushes rather than you working with gears to make it more efficient, just like we would in a mid-hub engine. On their website, they always try to show the link to the car, but in my honest opinion, I don't find them that similar, except for maybe the color. But yeah, apart from that, it doesn't say Ford to me. What is nice though is that they have these Pirelli tires, which is high quality, meant for the streets, as well as this reflective rim, so it's just an additional safety feature. People will see your wheels in the dark. Also of importance then is that suspension. So what I've noticed is it's 120 millimeters travel on the front fork, which is quite low, meaning it will do its work. It's probably qualitative and absorbs the shocks as it should. But with that 120 millimeters, I'm just saying it's not a mountain bike. So the full suspension, is it really needed? It depends. It depends on your preference. But for a urban or a road bike, for example, that's not really necessary. The battery then, it states here a massive 720 watt hours. Now, I wouldn't call it massive, I would call it about average. It depends. If it's a class 2, I would say this is more than average, but if it's class 3 with that powerful engine, you know, you kind of need that battery as well. So 60 miles is probably the high level if you ride on eco. I would say it's probably 30 miles if you go full speed, maybe a bit less, it depends. One thing that is really nice and great about this bike is the brakes. So a 4-piston Tektro brake with discs of 203 millimeters. That does seem like very, like they say here, phenomenal stopping power. I think I can agree with that one. And that brings me to the last point, which maybe is a stupid detail. First, let's cover the paint. So they have this paint, but if you pay an extra price of $390, you can get about any Ford color. That's quite nice. Last thing I wanted to say about the design is here you can see that rear light, but I wonder if it's actually visible. You know, it's hidden behind the wheel. That just doesn't seem like a good position for this rear light. So integrated, yes, maybe visible a bit from the sides, but maybe not from the rear. That's definitely something they might need to revise. Anyway, let's finish off with the specs because we still need to cover the Bronco. So that weight is quite high, the battery seems okay, so 9-speed. I would have done a bit more, especially at those speeds. The 120 millimeter travel, not super duper. Well, enough for road, not enough for off-road, and given that this is the road version, let's consider this enough. The brakes are good, the wheels are good, the cockpit is quite special. 750 watt motor, doesn't say anything about the Newton meters, so let's just assume that it's the same motor as in the Bronco, which was stating 85 Newton meters, which would be quite a bit. With that said, let's just quickly go to the Bronco and cover it in a similar way. What I instantly notice about this Bronco is, you know, the design, the saddle. It doesn't have the normal saddle like we have it here. It looks more like a trial bike or a motorcycle, or yeah, less e-bike, more motocross, let's say. And because it's only available in one size only, that's definitely something you have to keep in mind, unless if you're like constantly standing up on this bike to go downhill, but I'm assuming sometimes you need to go uphill as well. Either way, the design is quite different. The frame is different, the saddle is different. You do have that full suspension, so front and frame suspension. And here as well, we see that the engine is located in the wheel. Again, for off-roading and especially mountain biking, the mid-hub engines or mid-engines are much better because they pull the bike forward instead of pushing it. Also with 750 watts in that rear wheel engine, it's possible that on steep climbs the wheel starts slipping because there's just too much power. That's why the choice for rough terrain tires is quite important as well. But anyway, same thing on this bike is that light placement. I still don't understand why they would place it here and maybe not here underneath the saddle, but that light seems to be invisible if someone's behind you. You might see the shine here, but yeah, again, something they'll have to reconsider. That cockpit is the same, and that suspension is actually the same as on the Mustang. So 120 millimeters travel, not enough to really go mountain biking. You can say it's a full suspension e-bike, but yeah, in my opinion, it's not a e-mountain bike. That's kind of contrary to what Ford is saying about this bike, because they call it the GOAT, go over any terrain. It's a clever way of speaking, nice marketing team, but the bike can't deliver. Let me say that differently, I'm not sure if this bike will deliver. And that's just based on this first look. Again, here we see that suspension. I'm of the opinion that it might be a little low on travel distance. And in the middle we see that it's a spring. Most sportive or mountain bike brands, they would use an air compressor here, and here it's the choice for a spring, so that's deemed lower quality or older technology, less comfortable, less suspension. And so yeah, something to think about when you're comparing this to another choice of e-bike. That said, it does, you know, it looks kind of special, and maybe that's what you want. So let's talk price. They're both available around 4,000 for the Mustang and 4,500, if I'm not mistaken, US dollars for this Bronco. and I'm not sure what the prices are like in the USA, but for this type of bike or the pieces, the elements that are on here, that's quite a hefty price. Meaning, in my opinion, it's overpriced at the moment. I'll say it one last time, I haven't driven the bike, so don't take my opinion, because it's just an opinion, as real advice, but definitely worth testing before buying. That's what I would say. Let's quickly end by covering the specs to see that, you know, with the 750 watts, the 720 watt hours, the pounds, the 9-speed, everything kind of looks the same. Of course, apart from that design, the frame, but I mean all the bike pieces that are fitted onto this frame do look identical. And so although the bike is quite different in design, the frame, it's very similar in specs. You can order them on the Ford website. It states here, order now for pre-Christmas delivery, so still quite a few months away, but it does seem like it's possible. I also read that they are easy to assemble, so it's really a bike that you order online, it arrives in a box, almost assembled already, and then you just need to do the finishing touches of attaching the steering wheels, locking up the wheels, and charging the battery. Before you do that, it's always best to test the bike or have some reviews that you can check out. So far I haven't found any, so as soon as I will get that opportunity, I'll make sure to make one. And that's it for this video. Not that long, not that much to say, because there's very limited information out there. It's quite ironic. When I look for Ford e-bikes, I find articles from 9 years ago when they were first presenting their e-bikes. But for now, I feel it's safe to say that the Ford e-bikes don't hold the same reputation as the Ford cars. So is this a gimmick? Is this just Ford making sure that, you know, they make some noise and that they give a start sign for their e-bike section? Or is it really the start of their e-bike section, and are they going to grow from here on out? I'm sure if that's the case, they'll start producing the bikes themselves rather than using a third party. But so that's that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this was informative and at least you've learned something new compared to what's already available. As soon as I have more information, I'll make sure to update you. Like and subscribe if you need the notifications to, you know, stay up to date, and I will see you next time.